Welcome to More Action, the podcast for entrepreneurs, business owners, and professionals. I'm your host, Sheley Brien, and together we have candid conversations with industry leaders to uncover valuable wisdom and lessons learned. My hope is you use these lessons to intentionally take more action in business and life. I hope you share and enjoy. Well, I hope you guys are ready for a doozy today, let's say, because this is an episode I've been thinking about recording for probably over a year at this point. It's a more personal episode. This is an experience that I went through, and this is a hard one. So I'm going to try my best to keep it together. So if you are watching this on Instagram, or excuse me, on YouTube, you might see a tear or two, but I'm going to try and keep it together. And you might be asking, like, holy cow, is this too personal? Like, what's going on? This is just something that the more that I find that I share experiences that I have been through, that if it helps one person, and even if it was like hard sharing it, but it helps one person, it's 100% freaking worth it. And this topic kind of came up at a recent speaking engagement, and I know it's time. It's time. I believe that with the new branding, we're all taking more action. This is a really significant action I just took in 2021. And I believe that this will help one person today. And that's why we're here. And so wherever you are, right, whatever podcasting platform you are listening to, Apple, Spotify, Stitcher, whatever, make sure you're subscribed, YouTube, subscribe. You do not want to miss these episodes. More Action is about doing just that. And here I am sharing something that I know will help someone today, but it's going to be this is a hard one. And I want to bring you back because if you've been following me, we've been connected on social media. I show horses, and I've had horses basically my entire life. Been very fortunate at varying levels, never at the level that I am now when I was a child, but I still had them in my life. And horses, I hear the story. I saw one at 4 years old, and that was it. I had to have horses. They are incredibly powerful and in so many ways, and can affect your life. And until you're around them, it's hard to know. But if you own an animal like a dog, or dare I say cat, you could understand how much you could love one animal. Horses are incredible. And I have always, horses have always been my constant. And when I was growing up and my parents got a divorce when I was 8 years old, I was already addicted to horses, but I really went to horses. They were constant, love regardless. I could care for them as much as they gave back to me. Ooh, okay, guys, I'm going to keep this together. But it was just, there was no but there. It's just that they are so important. They were so important in my life. And as I became an adult, for me, college, I was very fortunate. College was paid for. It's less than 1 year to go to college now for all 4 of my years. But at graduation, the way that it worked in my family is my father handed me my bills and said, good luck in the world. And so I went, all the horses were sold, done. And I was like, okay, how do I do this? And I had one goal only: make freaking money so that I can have horses again. And that's exactly what I did. So everything as an adult was geared towards, how can I get horses back into my life? How can I have them? With that driving force, and if you know me, you've been tuning in, I'm definitely an achiever, and I'm that girl, like, get out of my way, watch out, I will prove you wrong at any chance I can. And so going into, finance, then into pharmaceuticals, I was making great money. I was paying for the horses. I had horses in my life. Chris and I were building a life. Then we started building a house, and then we were building a family, and horses were always there. And it is, if you haven't been around horses, they are not inexpensive, let's say. Everything about them. They are anything and everything. They are definitely a significant financial commitment. And so Chris, I'm fortunate enough, he married into this, but he was willing to support me making financial decisions that way. And it was very important for me to do that and stay doing that. Now, looking back, I can tell you that could we be farther ahead without horses? 100,000,000%. That being said, this is not something that I regret because they are so important to my growth, to a lot of my mindset, and very just horses are something it is, you can hear, it's like almost hard to put words around it unless you're around them. But we made a lot of financial decisions, and I did. I'm not going to, let Chris take the credit for this. I definitely spent a significant amount of money on the horses, and I could feel some changes happening with priorities. I could feel some growth that I was having, and I could feel like there was a conflict. Something that I loved so much was not giving me the same level of feeling back. And so it was something that I was like going through it. The relationships that I had in the horse industry, I had some really tough relationships. It happens in any industry, really tough experiences. I felt betrayed. I felt, there was a lot of things that went down, yet it was like something that meant so much to me. And one night, Chris and I were at dinner. And as you can imagine, we were at one of our date nights. And Chris, so hot on a date night, I'm sure crying. I know I was, because I'm trying to work through this. And Chris is seeing me. He's obviously lived through all of it with me. We've been together since we were 20. And he's like, sees how much growth I've had. And he asked me one question that forever changed my life. And you guys, this was just back in 2021. This wasn't like a decade ago. I'm still moving through this right now here in March 2024. And he says to me, Sheley, what if the one thing that was your shield growing up has become your anchor? That question literally changed everything. What Chris did in one simple question was completely reframe the way that I was interacting with something, the way that I was thinking, the way that I was making decisions. It was so incredibly powerful. And I am so grateful that not only I had Chris to have that conversation with, but also he was willing to listen and give me that hard feedback. And the reason that I think it's time to talk about this is because just at a speaking engagement, this question kind of came up just about priorities and changing and letting go. And there was a time when even just in 2020, I was so focused with the horses on, I was breeding. We had too many horses. We were competing all over. I was chasing the accolades, the glory, the titles, all of it. And guess what? In 2020, I got it. I was on a magazine cover. I was top 9 in the world. I achieved a 6-figure earner. It was like all these dreams that I had had for the last 20 years. I got them. And after I got them, it kind of started feeling funny. It wasn't what I expected. And I share this because I feel like sometimes when in business, we can like reach these different milestones. And when we get there, we think, oh, when I hit this, then I'll be happy. When I achieve that, oh, that's when I'll be happy. And I achieved in my sport, in this thing that I loved in 2020. And it was an incredible year. But then I started thinking about it, and the one thing that was missing from it was sharing it with my daughter. The titles didn't mean anything anymore. All I wanted to do was ride with my daughter. She rides horses with me now. I'm so blessed and fortunate for that. And I just wanted to spend the time with her. And so at the speaking event, I just shared how everything changed for me. And then Chris asking that question was a complete reframe. The one thing that had been my shield as a child did turn into an anchor and was holding me back from the growth that I was having. And listen, you can see on my stories, you can see in everything, it's not like we sold the horses and got out of it. However, that reframe changed the way I interacted with it. Instead of being scared trying to get it and being worried to pay for it and how to do it and what level and what horse I needed and what gear or tack or outfits I needed, all this stuff, it wasn't a priority anymore. And so I was able to reframe everything, reorganize my thoughts, and turn that anchor back into something I enjoyed. Not another shield, but I enjoyed. I got to control. I got to understand what it was going to look like going forward. And that truly, in the last 3 years or 2.5 years, let's say, has been such a huge transformation for me. The way that I interact with those in that industry, in the horse industry, the way that I participate in it, the way that I have Reese participate in it is completely different. It is from a position of strength rather than a position of fear and weakness. And, here on More Action, I try to leave you with some action that you could implement in any way immediately. And the question that I have for you today, I don't have the action steps for you today. This was a really hard thing to go through, and it was hard to hear. But once I understood, every decision after that became so much easier. So the question I have for you today is, what in your life could have been a shield at some point, maybe a season you were in? Like me, when my parents were getting a divorce and I was young, that was my shield. It protected me. Yet, now as you have grown, personally, professionally, has that same thing that was a shield become an anchor for you? And listen, if you can answer this question on your own, that's great. I struggled for years. I couldn't do it. I'm so fortunate enough to have Chris to be able to talk to so that he could be the sounding board. And so if you can answer it on your own, great. But if you can't, or if it's too tough, find that person that will be brutally honest with you. That's number one. But that person also needs to be someone that you will listen to what they say. So there's 2 points to that. So I share this. I'm proud I didn't cry. Got kind of puckered up there a couple times, but this has been one of the most freeing things that I've done in the last 3 years. And because of that change, that reframe, and understanding and controlling the way that I interact with this thing that I enjoy now, the horses, it's back to enjoying it. There's no fear with it. Is that it takes time to go through it. And you might not recognize what that is right now. But my guess is that each of us, Chris has his own too. I know I've talked to some other friends, is that you have something that you are acting a little bit fear-based in, something that was once protecting you. Maybe it was a habit that you had, but maybe now that habit has become an anchor and is holding you back from your next level. I hope this story, as hard as it was for me to share with you, I hope that it helps you. And this is something that I think that question, I've asked myself this question in many areas of life, as a parent, as a friend, as a wife, and as a business owner and leader. I hope that you find power in your answers and reflection on this, and cannot wait to have you tune in next time.